Hello everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for taking your time to join us today. I'm just waiting for Edgardo to see me and to, here you go. I will accept Edgardo. Really looking forward to see my friend. Just waiting for him to connect. Edgardo!
Hi, how are you?
Oh my God, how are you?
Very good, and you?
So great to see you. My God, it feels honestly that we just left our one of our dinners in Florence, or one of our coffee. That was the last time I think we saw each other.
Yes, it's
I'm gonna
short.
close my eyes and pretend. Imagine. It's
Well, at
so
least
great
I
to
can see
see you.
you here. It's so nice to see you again.
So nice to see you also. And I love the background. I can see all these creative sketches and everything behind you.
It's actually a background of a lot of the Aquazura girls and wonderful women that wear our shoes, and I also mix it with thank you notes and notes from friends and things that they sent me. Um,
That's
I,
great. Well, you look
how are you?
great, and I'm good. And Happy New Year, and I'm so
Happy
happy
New
to see you. And really, so I will do a little introduction in general about the series, and I'll say a few words from my side about you, and we'll just start chatting. And there are so many things that I want to ask. There are so many things that our friends want to know and listen to, and just because you are admired all over the world and among all my friends, and of course including me. So here we go. Well, just a few words about Conversations with Olga. I've started this IGTV series during the circuit breaker because I had more time, because I wanted to reconnect with all my beautiful, wonderful, inspiring friends. And this is how Conversations with Olga started. And it is series that are fostering intellectual and cultural exchange between influential individuals from all around the world. You all are sharing your life stories, your hopes, your inspirations, and it all sort of geared toward cultivating a more diverse and inclusive community. So today it's my honor to welcome you, my dear Edgardo, to Conversations with Olga.
Thank you for
And I'll just say a few words about you, and you'll take over. Edgardo is the founder of and director of Aquazura, my all-time favorite shoe brand. Edgardo, you were born in Colombia and raised between Miami and London, where you attended the London College of Fashion and Central St. Martin's. You took your first steps in the world of luxury footwear by working in a number of prestigious fashion houses, and after 10 years of experience and your innate passion for designing shoes, uh, your wonderful Aquazura was born. It was in 2011. And you combined your creative flair and innovative vision and created this incredibly, not only beautifully crafted brand, but also extremely comfortable. And I vouch for it because for me it's very, very important. I wear shoes from morning till night, and the comfort is super important. And Aquazura immediately gained international recognition. So I would like to talk, I will start to talk our conversation to ask you a few questions about the brand. Aquazura is definitely a cult brand. It has achieved an iconic status. Can you please tell us a little bit, right from the beginning, how the Aquazura was born?
Well, thank you, Olga, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you everyone for watching. I mean, I always wanted to have a brand of my own. I think it's every designer's dream to be able to share their own vision. I had the possibility of starting working when I was very, very young and working for wonderful people that I learned a lot from. But at a certain point in my career, even if I was young, I was 25, but I'd started working while I was still in high school. Actually, yeah, just started high school. I think I must have been 14 or 15 when I started working. It was for me such it was kind of the perfect moment. I wasn't very happy where I was working anymore, and I felt that at the time there wasn't a generational change from the designers that I used to see and admire and love, and at the same time, when I looked at shoes, no one was really thinking of, you know, everything was very heavy and very full of things and huge platforms and very complicated shoes, and also no one was really thinking of comfort at the time. So when I started, I just wanted to make beautiful, comfortable, sexy shoes that I loved and that I would have wanted the women around me to wear. And it was really something that was very natural. I was on holiday actually. When I thought of the name, I was in Capri, which is one of my favorite places in the world, and I was looking at the sea, and I thought I would really love to have a brand that reminds me of this. It reminds me of Italy, of summer, of La Dolce Vita, of all these things that this country that I've made my home reminds me of, in a modern way. And blue is my favorite color. I love by the sea. I'm Colombian. I grew up by the sea. I was born in Cartagena. So for me, that's Aquazura is blue water, and that's how the name was born. And everything behind the brand started from there. I then went to, I think I was invited to 12 weddings that summer. I went to 11 of them, and every woman, I love to dance, every woman kept complaining about their shoes, and so I thought, wow, somebody needs to make sexy, comfortable shoes, and that's kind of how it started. And it was a interesting time also, because when I started, it was the beginning of social media, the beginning of street style, the beginning of so many of these things that we kind of are so normal now. And at the time, I never really expected for it to kind of be so quick. And I started in New York. I remember arriving to New York with like a suitcase and staying at a friend's and showing at a friend's house in Soho. And I called friends, and they would be like, who knows somebody at Vogue, who knows somebody in this shop or that shop. And it was very kind of like that. And it kind of just happened. And then some girlfriends that worked in fashion came by, they ordered shoes, they started wearing the shoes, and they started getting photographed in the shoes, and it kind of snowballed. It was amazing, because I think a lot of the success of the brand was always about the product, and it was always about word of mouth. Women would try the shoes, and they would feel that they were so different and comfortable and different from other shoes that I always say you need to try on my shoes, because they always do feel different, and when you try them on, they always look better on. Because for me, that's so much more important. It's not only the shelf appeal; it obviously needs to look amazing on the shelf, but it's so much more important that you try it on.
I can vouch for it.
They look amazing. They make my leg look long. I feel amazing. They're comfortable, and going back to the wedding part, I went to 11 of those weddings. I'm normally one of the first to start dancing and one of the last ones to lead the dance.
Good to know.
And women were always complaining about their feet. So that's kind of how I started, and it became kind of an obsession of mine. And it was not only about high heels. Even from the beginning, it was about kind of, I obviously started with a smaller collection, but as the collection grew, it was about kind of offering a woman shoes from flats to mid heels to heels to everything that she might need in her life. That's still stylish, but she can run in them. She's comfortable. She can dance. She can live in them, because essentially what's happened, in the past 20 years is, women are more and more busy. They have, they have businesses, they're married, they have kids, they have so many things, they have to juggle so many things, and they need their shoes to follow that life.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of how it started.
Well, I have to share with you what you said about word of mouth. That's exactly what happened with me. The first pair of shoes was given to me as a gift by our mutual friend Sophie.
Ah,
And
yes.
this is it. This is it. This is my first pair of Aquazura shoes.
You know, that's the first shoe I ever designed. That was
Here you
the
go,
first shoe.
everybody. And I still wear them and I love them. They're the most comfortable pair, and I have a few of them as a spin-off of the shoes. I have them in black. There's a gold
They're called
heel
the
and
same
all.
thing. I
And
actually remember I was in Portugal and I sketched that I was in the pool. I was there over the weekend with some friends, and I remember sketching by the pool that shoe, and that was the first shoe, and it was the idea that you would slip into a glove. That the shoe was like, it felt like you were wearing nothing at all.
well, it's the most comfortable shoe, and I adore it. And when I was presented this as a gift from my girlfriend, she spoke to me about you, and then instantaneously I said, I have to meet this person. I have to meet this guy, and so I met you. You came to Singapore, as we become very dear friends, and since then I'm your biggest fan. And besides being
Hopefully I
just
can be back to Asia and to traveling, which I
well,
love.
you know that my house is open. You know that you have a home with me here, and anytime you're more than welcome. You know that. So the time will come, and definitely there are so many people who would love to welcome you back or to see it and meet you. So this will happen. I promise you. And when I promise, I deliver the promise, as you know.
Hopefully when
So, that brings me to another question about the brand. Well, I'm sure our listeners, our viewers know that Aquazura means blue water. But
yeah.
what does it mean? What does your famous staple of the pineapple mean? Here, I don't know if people can see it. There's a little pineapple here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your signature? What is behind the signature pineapple on the back of the
When
sole?
I started the brand, it was in the middle of a crisis, and everybody told me I was crazy to start something at the time. And the funny thing is, I always think that in moments of deep crisis, it's when you really have the biggest opportunities. It's when we get the most creative, and when really change happens, and we see it now. So much is changing and so much is happening. And I do think that you have to get more creative because you have no other choice. And for me, I wanted everything around my brand to be positive and to signal positivity. And I've always loved pineapples and palms. I've collected them. Pineapple lamps, pineapple everything. And I started seeing pineapples everywhere around the time that I was thinking of the brand, and I looked into the symbology of pineapples, and I discovered that not only are they a symbol of hospitality, but gold pineapples in some cultures, they bring wealth and good fortune, or they signify the lucky charm. And so I love this idea that you're wearing a lucky charm on the bottom of your feet every day, and I love that our logo would be a lucky charm. Why not, right? Everybody needs some luck.
Well, that's great. So your shoes are not only beautiful, comfortable, but they bring the fortune to people who wear them. Please remember that, everyone. Super important. And I even have your suede flats that I embroidered with all the pineapples. I absolutely love them. I wore them to death, so I have to ask you whether you're still making them or whether you should make me a pair, because I don't travel anywhere during the summer without those turquoise suede
Didn't make
flats.
them again, but those are fantastic. Those we make the slippers with all the pineapple embroideries. Yeah, we need to make those again.
So great, good to know. Thank you. So your Aquazura tripled in business, I believe, between 2014 and 2016, and really expanded worldwide. What happened that caused this incredible growth of the brand?
I actually think that it was really about, again, word of mouth. I mean, it's something incredible because it wasn't something that I expected at all. It was we would get a client in and she would buy a shoe, and then a week later she'd come back with her sister and her cousin and her friend, and she would tell them, and she would post about it. And again, I think it's such an incredible tool, social media. because we had both, and at the time I saw, you know, we also were very lucky that we had so much support from the press,
Yeah.
and from buyers and from different people, but at the same time you had this incredible tool that could reach the world, and it kind of, I always thought that you could start somewhere, you know, maybe in the US, and then you would do well there, and then little by little you would expand, and that was maybe the way that was in the past. But nowadays, you know, even if you have a brand, you don't need to be, you could be anywhere in the world, you know, you can get discovered and through the internet and through social media.
It's all very global. Yes.
People can discover it anywhere. I mean, it used to be that you would need to be in Milan, New York, Paris to be able to make fashion that people would see and be successful. But now, you know, there's so many successful designers that are everywhere in the world because you have such an immediacy with social media and such an access that anyone can see your product. And so once somebody likes it and somebody reposts it and it's visually there, and that was it. It is a word of mouth in the end. It's a word of mouth people did, and I remember one of my happiest moments. I remember once going to shows and then seeing all the women in the front row and all these editors and all these people who I had no budget or money to give them the shoes, so they were buying them, and and so it was amazing because it really was something through word of mouth, and women wearing the shoes and other women seeing it, and it kind of just happened naturally, and for me it was always about making women look their best and making women look beautiful and feel good, because in the end, and even now, which has, you know, this historical moment has made me really think a lot about my work and what we do, and fashion is an industry that gives so many jobs, that supports so many people's livelihoods, and there's also the beautiful artisanal craftsmanship part of it.
Yes.
That's very special, but it also is something that makes us dream and makes us escape, and I think that the direction of fashion right now is very much, you know, yes, things that we can wear even if we're home that make us feel good, but it's again making you feel good. It's making you, either fashion makes you dream and makes you want to escape, and takes you from the moment where you are right now and think like, oh, I'm buying these shoes. Even if I can't travel right now to go on this holiday that I would love to go, dream. In my mind, I'm there, and I see them in your closet, and you love them, and you know, you'll wear them at home when you're seeing a close friend, and at the same time, you have the things that are comfortable, that maybe are those shoes or slippers or whatever that you're wearing at home or you're wearing in a comfortable way every day. So I think you have both right now, but you need the dream, and that's the whole point of fashion. It needs to. It's like reading a beautiful book or watching a beautiful painting. It's something that makes you go somewhere else and escape and dream and make you feel good. And most of my favorite shoes all the time are shoes that when you wear them, you smile, that you know you're gonna have an amazing time.
I do all the time when I wear your shoes, for sure.
That you know when you wear them, you're gonna have a great night.
Yes, because they're just really, really so exceptionally comfortable, and that's what we mentioned before. What I mentioned before, they're not only beautiful, but they're exceptionally comfortable. So that makes a difference. So even the high heels, even if we don't travel now, we don't go for the galas, we can easily wear them at home and enjoy and relax in them because they're not painful at all. So, you know, you're a dreamer, and you have incredible feel for art and for creativity, and that even shows through your stores, because you customize your stores to fit into the cities they're located. So, you know, I've been, of course, to your wonderful store in Florence so many times, and so in New York, and the store in Florence is absolutely different from the store in New York or in Dubai and anywhere else. Can you please tell us or give us an example? How do you create your stores? How do you create this incredible environment where people can immerse themselves depending on where they are?
Well, I still think that even now, even with COVID, I mean, stores will always be brick and mortar, and physical stores will always be an important part of the shopping experience, because even if you're buying online, normally you want to try it on, you want to see it, you want to touch it. Normally the client will look at it online and maybe go into the store and buy it and ship it home, or she'll go see it online, go and try it in the store, and then she'll buy it online afterwards. But there's always a physical aspect, that showroom aspect.
Yes.
And for me, when I was thinking of stores in a globalized world where people used to travel or traveled so much, it made no sense that you would have stores in New York, in Shanghai, in London, in Miami, all look the same. It was so boring and uninspiring in a way. I love the idea that every store belonged to the city in a way, like you're walking into my living room in a city, because if you're decorating a house, it's your house, but
Yes.
if you have a house in the mountain or in a house by the sea, they're going to be decorated in completely different ways. Or
Yes.
a house in the city, it'll still be your taste and your DNA, but it will be a different house, and that was
Yes.
exactly the point. And I love the idea that somebody loves my store in Capri more than they like my store in London, and,
Yes.
and each store in a way is either inspired by the place where it is, like Dubai is inspired by Middle Eastern architecture, Capri is inspired by the island and by
Yes.
all these things that I love about Capri. London is inspired by a London townhouse. They're all, but New York in a way is inspired by the Church of Santa Maria Novella and the cathedral in Siena and all that architecture. So every one of them is different.
Yes.
And they belong to the city, and you're having a different experience. You have a different selection of shoes. Last summer when we opened in Capri, 50% of what we were selling in the store was exclusive to Capri, and for me, it's very important to have that element, that you go in and you have something special and unique that you can get there, and that you have an experience. In the end, it's an experience, and you have the joy of walking in there and being surprised and seeing something wonderful and beautiful. And I'm very passionate about interiors. I'm very passionate about design. It's actually
it feels through every single detail, for sure.
Yeah, it's why I started Aquazura Home, and I'm very much involved in the interiors process of every store. It's as exciting for me as designing a collection every time we do a new store. Or do an event. Like I get very much involved. I'm part of, like, I do mood boards. I kind of show what I want to see and what I want to communicate, or what I would like for a specific store to be, and I'm very involved in the process. And the funny thing is, design and it is very much a part of my design process. I go to antique shops, I go to flea markets, I'm always looking online at all these different auctions because I'm very passionate about design. It's something that comes naturally to me, so it's a one, other than using it for my shoes, it's also something that I also use obviously when I decorate a shop or my office or whatever I do.
Yes. Well, that brings me, I've been to your studio, your beautiful studio, and your, beautiful home studio in Florence a number of times, and I absolutely love it. And that it's restored with your vision, with your details, and to bring back the beauty and history of Florence and palaces of centuries ago. Does the style that surrounds you and heritage inspire you to create the collection based on the historical facts and lifestyle of different era? Does this play an important element of your creativity, for your creativity of the collection?
Oh, I've always been an aesthete. I love beautiful things, and I love beautiful spaces. And one of the joys and privileges of being in Florence is that you can be in these incredible places with so much history. This is a palace that was started in the 16th century, and it was built up over the years.
Yes.
Finished in the 17th century, and the colors, the frescoes. I mean, I would love to. I can show you a little bit after. It's obviously, it's, even if you don't want to be inspired by that, in a way you are anyway, because if you're surrounded when you walk, and I always say, like, the best way to discover any city in Italy is to walk around, because anywhere you look, like, you look up and there's something, there's a fresco, there's a sculpture, there's something magical to discover. And I'm not necessarily inspired by something specific, because I'm such a visual person. I'm always looking at so many things and walking around, and I'm naturally curious. So everything that I see involves my work indirectly anyway. And I love color, and there's so much color in this city. There's so much color in this where I work, in the roofs, in the ceilings, that it obviously affects my work. And it affects what I do, and it's a city, Florence, which is why in the end I ended up being here, because Tuscany has the biggest concentrations of luxury artisans in the world to make shoes and accessories. I mean, wherever you go, there's such a richness in the culture. There's so much to see. Other than what's obvious that for anyone when they come to the city, which is the museums and the beauty of the city, behind the scenes, there's such a richness in the culture and the craftsmanship that's been there for so long, that it's there to be discovered, and it's there to inspire. When I go around and I drive around the factories, I drive around my suppliers, I go visit my artisans, sometimes they'll have something that they don't even know or remember that's like on the floor in the back of a warehouse, and I'm kind of like digging around and I find something amazing, whether it's a fabric, whether it's a print, whether it's a piece of something, that a sample that was made in the 60s, that then we replay it and we make it again and we make it modern. But that's the beauty of working here. It's that there's so much.
You breathe the culture, you breathe the time, and it inhales.
Yes,
you
but also
this, of course.
with Italians and the culture around. I mean, not every. The culture around the craftsmanship that they have is, they're really passionate about what they do. They don't really do it for money. They do it because they love to do it, and they rarely retire. They basically worked until the end. Like, they love what they do, and they love to teach you, and they love it if you're inspired by it, because they are too. They're doing it because they're passionate about it. And so it's so amazing, because when I give a sketch, or when I'm working with an artisan from here, I have an idea, and they make my idea better. They might actually sometimes make a mistake that makes actually the shoe even nicer, or they'll tell me, oh, but why don't we do it like this, or have you thought of this as well? And it's such a wonderful part of the process, and it's on every stage of the way, because it's so. The process of creating shoes is something so manual and so personal in a way. When you're designing a heel, I designed it in a piece of paper by hand, and then I go to this guy, I show him my sketch, and he carves it out of a piece of wood, or in front of me out of a sketch, and then they make it by computer after in a 3D in a three-dimensional way. But the old school way is still on a machine that rolls. And
it's still very artisanal.
Like, I want a millimeter here, a millimeter there, or maybe like this, or maybe like that. And it's incredible that you still, in a world of, where it's all about 3D printing and technology and whatever, this little niche that's luxury, shoes and bags and these kind of and accessories, you can still have technology, but in some ways you still maintain this very, very artisanal, handmade aspect, where you can get so much from these people that have 20, 30, 40, 50 years of experience.
That's right. That's incredible. I think this is why we have to preserve the craftsmanship. We have to preserve the notion of human touch, I believe, and passion. And not everything can be done by the.
That was probably the hardest thing for me during this time. I'm very much a physical. I love human contact. I love to be around people. I love my job also because I get to meet so many wonderful and interesting people around the world that have become very close friends, like you. And but also because I love to go to my factories. I love to visit them. I love to go to the different suppliers and see what they're doing, and change the things and work
Yes.
together with them, and it's such a one-on-one person that you can do it by email, and you can do it on you know,
Yes.
now with technology and Zoom and whatever, but it's not the same, because
Yeah.
when you're there, you can do something that would otherwise take you like 2 weeks of emails and like 25 Zoom calls, and you can do that in half an hour in person. And that is a challenge, because it's
Yes,
so
because it's a creative process.
so
It's
physical.
not
It's so physical
exactly.
that it is a challenge.
Yes, that was actually the question that but you more or less answered already. I wanted to ask you, how was COVID-19, what kind of impact it made in not only on the styles, but on the process, and maybe you can touch up on the styles that kind of
I mean, again,
COVID-19 imposed to.
I think that in a way, I mean, I was already used to working, as I'm someone who also used to travel 8-9 months a year. I also used technology a lot, but I was always used to coming back and staying for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, and looking at everything, working together with them, getting it done, and then leaving again. And so that changed a bit, and you kind of learn to explain yourself and to work with technology even more, even though it is harder. In terms of what we do and the styles that we do, it's surprising to me that even if many people, most people can't go out, or we still, not everyone necessarily knows that if they go into aquazura.com, like it's not only high heels, you have flats, you have mid heels, and a lot of the things that I thought we have sneakers, and a lot of the things that I thought during the lockdown was, okay, if I'm going to stay home, because I was locked down, and I was looking at what, I was locked down with friends, and I was looking what they were wearing and what I would wear, and I was thinking, okay, but it's funny that there's not so many beautiful shoes to stay in, and that are really comfortable. And I came out actually with this collection that is just out now in December, called Off Duty, and it's basically a line of shoes to be at home, and that you can wear out as well if you want, but they're to be at home, and they're in cashmere, in shearling, they're in like some backstock furs that I was trying to kind of upcycle.
Yes, I saw those.
In like upcycled minks, and that were not going to be used otherwise. So and so for those, all these materials that were very, very tactile, and we made a whole line of shoes to be at home that has been quite successful, and I'm quite excited about. We also made a line called Boudoir, which is something that I've always loved, these kind of 30s, 40s, and 50s Hollywood movies, like old Hollywood movies, when she's wearing like a nightgown and she looks amazing at home, and then she has a fabulous kind of slipper, and it's a time when we are seeing less people, but we are still seeing friends and family as much as we can, in a safe way, and when we are, and when we invite them home, when we go there, it was so nice to also have a shoe. Even if you're just at home working, like, you still want to have something on your feet that looks nice. And so the Boudoir line was kind of a fun, again, like a shoe that for me, like, they have this huge marabou pom-poms that
I have a pair.
They have these huge feather pom-poms, and they're so much fun, and again, like, they kind of make you smile, and again, it was something that I did thinking of this time, other than obviously sneakers and flats and all these other things that we do, but we've actually kept, which has surprised me a lot, people are still buying high heels, and they're still buying some of our, a lot of our evening or special shoes, or because even if maybe you can't go out, you still want to have something that makes you dream and makes you, even this summer, or thinking of anything, like, even if you're going to have dinner with friends, you kind of want to have something fun to look at. I even have girls that tell me, like, I buy them just because I want to see them in my closet, or I buy them because I want to wear them even just to feel good, even if it's just between me and two girlfriends, or
Yes.
that's been interesting. That people
Absolutely,
have.
because you create, you design, you have a sense of the dolce vita, isn't it? So, but I want to, but you interpret it with a contemporary feel to it, with a contemporary twist. Since you actually started, I think, the brand of 2019, it's always had this notion to me as special La Dolce Vita luxury that is elegant, flamboyant, very, very feminine. And mentioning this, do you have a muse? You create your shoes for a woman who has a natural beauty. Do you?
To be honest, I've always found that the concept of the muse was a little bit outdated in a way, and because I don't think there can be a one woman, even any woman. One day you want to feel sexy, one day you want to feel like more business-like or more hippie or more rock and roll, or you can wake up and want to dress up completely different, and I love that idea, and that's a fun part of fashion. I think that you can be so many things depending on your mood and where you're going.
Yes.
And the occasion. And so for me, I want you to walk into my store and be able to kind of find so much depending on
Well,
what you're
that's
feeling.
what happened with me, Edgardo. When I walk into your store, it's just
It's not only
very difficult to
or
stop.
our website. It's not about one woman. I mean, sometimes I think of one shoe and I name it after a woman that I thought about when I was creating it. But it's one shoe. It's not a whole collection.
Yeah.
There's so many, and I've grew up surrounded by women. I'm inspired by women and traveling but I'm very much inspired by women. And there's so many incredible women that I've met over the years that are in my life that are friends, and so it's never only about one woman. It's so many, and that's the fun part of it.
That's great. So we all stand a chance to have a shoe designed by you then. And that brings me to another question. To what extent do you follow trends when you design your future collections?
I don't really think of trends. I mean, the one thing that's, I think, wonderful to be an independent company is that I get to do whatever I want.
Great.
In the sense that
I can relate to that.
I don't really think of a trend. I do what I feel makes sense for the moment and what's appropriate in a way, and what I like and what inspires me. I think that especially now more than ever, you need to, I mean, it's great to experiment with fashion, but I think that with experimenting, you need to understand what looks good on you, and not every trend looks, I think, it's like jeans. You need to find the jeans that fit you and the style that fits you and that makes you look good, because not all trends look good on everyone. And the world is beautiful because it's varied and colorful and different, and we're all so different. And so I've never been one to think of a global uniform and like, let's all look the same. I think that's so boring. Yeah. So I don't really think of trends. I think maybe of something that people are missing, or if maybe in a specific moment I see that my friends, everybody's wearing more like wide leg pants or something, maybe I'll think, okay, maybe they need a platform to wear on that to make their leg look longer. Maybe more for a function than necessarily a trend. I never really think of it because it's not something that necessarily interests me. Because I think, as a designer, you need to be informed of what's happening in the world. We're traveling so much, we're seeing so many things, and I'm constantly looking at people, looking at what's going on, looking at everything that you're forecasting and you're seeing what kind of people are gonna want to wear anyway, and so it can become a trend. And the funny thing is, sometimes it's not like we all read the same. When you see that 20 different shows had a similar idea, it's not necessarily that we all read the same magazine or whatever, or website. It's because culturally something's happening, and we all thought of the same thing, and we were all kind of like, okay, but we want to be more free, and so we want this or we want that. and you know, now after COVID, I was so much inspired by nature. I was so much inspired, you know, the color green that I'm absolutely obsessed about right now. I've always loved green. I mean, my favorite color is blue, but right now I have a particular obsession with green.
So now green is the new blue, I suppose.
After being inside for so long and wanting to be outside, and also
yes.
I was lucky enough during lockdown to be in a place that had a beautiful garden and being around nature. Somehow everything that feels natural, everything that feels organic, everything that feels the colors of nature and things, the flowers, anything like that is something that I want to have around me, that I want to feel, that I want to see. And so my summer collection was all about that.
Yes.
But it was something that just kind of happened. It wasn't something that I planned.
It was organic.
It was just something that I felt. Yes. And when it comes to summer, I always love color. I always, you know, after wearing darker tones and cream and black and blue and gray, yes. Like I want to have color. I want to be happy. I want to like dance. I want to be outside and I want to have that in my collection. I want to smile.
And that, you know, and it felt, you know, I have so many beautiful, absolutely colors from, you know, the shoes that I have, fuchsia and bright blue and the purple and just amazing, beautiful gemstone colors that definitely are very, you know, it's a talking point. Yeah. Anytime I wear something absolutely subdued, but then I wear your shoes and it's a huge admiration, attention, you know, and because they're so comfortable, I would like to chat with you and basically ask you, how do I assure the quality and comfort of your shoes? Do you know the anatomy of the foot?
Well,
how do I assure this incredible comfort?
When we started, that was basically the like if you're doing a building, that was a foundation of the brand, the comfort. I hired an incredible team of technicians that had been working and knew the anatomy of the foot, and we worked together to make the structure of the shoes very, very comfortable. And we tried to make our shoes always as light as possible, and that, you know, the basis of the shoe, the construction, the architecture of the shoe, the foundation of every shoe was studied so that it was comfortable. And on top of that, part of my design process and part of everything that I do is very much focused not only on beauty. I mean, first it needs to be beautiful, because if it's not beautiful, you aren't even going to
yes.
try it on. So you need
yes.
you need to fall in love with it first. But once you do and you slip it on, it needs to make you feel good. It needs to feel soft. It needs to be comfortable, or as much as it can be. And so for me, that's something that I always look and it's very much a part of my process. We have fit models that work together with me, and we try on the shoes, and we go through endless fit trials where they try on the shoes, and we change them and we cut them and we work on them, and we can go, you know, to as many as 15 fit trials until a shoe is comfortable before it's actually in the store. So it's a very long process. Over time, where we're trying, because if you think that a millimeter or two can make a shoe uncomfortable, and most shoes, I mean luxury shoes, at least mine, 50% of the process at least is done by hand. There's a lot of human error that can happen, and so it's very important that there's a lot of attention that goes into the production of the shoe so that it is comfortable. Because if you're paying a lot for something, especially a luxury shoe, part of it is the behind the scenes, that somebody's actually thinking of you, that it's gonna, you know, that it's gonna make you feel and look good, and it's not gonna hurt, and you can actually, I mean, it's still if you're buying a heel, it's still a heel. If you're buying a flat, I never understand when they make uncomfortable flats. But it kind of defeats the purpose. But for me, it's very much a part of the process. And I have a fantastic team of people and factories that support that, and that they know that is so important to the DNA of the brand and to what we stand for, that it's something that's,
and it's definitely felt. I can vouch for any pair of shoes, and I have plenty from you, that really all of them are comfortable. And you know, that brings me to a question about the Italian craftsmanship. Is it something specifically very, very unique about Italian craftsmanship that you cannot find anywhere else?
Well, like I said before, I think it's something that they've been doing for many generations and has been passed on over the years. And that culture and that attention to detail, that richness, I mean, you just have a whole world around it. It's like I explained before. You come in and it's a culture of generations of quality and craftsmanship and passion and it's something in their culture.
Yes,
it's difficult to explain why in a place. Because it's been like that for many years, and it just became that specifically in Italy and in Tuscany, but all around Italy, there's so much more of these incredible craftsmen and these incredible artists and these incredible factories and tanneries that make things to the highest quality that somehow died off in other places or don't exist anymore, or they just never did.
Yes. And wonderful. And that brings me to another question. What is next for Aquazura? You know, even last time when I was in New York, and I make a point that anytime I'm in New York, and I always go to your store. And by the way, you know, you have incredible people all over the world. Anyway, I am around the world. Do you have a store? I'm there. And so they're incredibly well-trained and incredibly passionate people, and very courteous, and just wonderful to have to do the shopping anywhere around the world. But you know, I paid attention at the line of children's, of the girls' shoes, and I absolutely adore them. So is there something that you sort of find the need for?
Well, COVID gave me the opportunity to work on a few projects that I'd been wanting to do for a long time and hadn't had the time. One is actually a costume jewelry collection. I've had the opportunity to do some collaborations in the past with jewelry designers that were friends, that were quite successful. And I always feel like, you know, I think if a woman has two loves in fashion, it's shoes and jewelry. Those are the kind of like the biggest, you know, I don't know, I feel like there's something quite special about both. And I was able to start a costume jewelry line, which I love conversation. Like, I love shoes that make you smile. I love jewelry that's a conversation starter. That's amazing, and I found that a lot of the costume jewelry right now is very logo oriented and not as fun as I used to see of my memories when I used to, I don't know, when a certain kind of fashion that I used to love, and I saw an opportunity to make something fun and different, and we're launching costume jewelry now.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, I definitely, you know, that will inspire me to have a separate conversation with you just about the custom jewelry. So watch out.
And the other thing that we've been working on that I'm very excited about is
I'm excited to see it all and to wear it, of course, for sure. And you know, I know that, and I saw, of course, that because I believe people are spending so much more time at home and they love to entertain much more. You developed the Aquazura Casa line, the home line.
The other thing that I was.
And I saw incredible pictures from Capri with incredibly beautiful Aquazura plates, totally my style, and the incredible colors.
Yeah, well,
tell us a little bit about the collaboration.
We haven't launched that yet. We're launching that hopefully this summer.
Okay.
And we've been working. I hired Fiona Leahy.
Fiona, that's right.
She's a wonderful creative and kind of the queen of tablescapes, who I've worked on many events in the past. I've always loved interiors, like I said, and I've been especially passionate about tabletop and tablescapes. And whenever we do events, for me, it's such an important part of what we do. So visual. I love to, if we're gonna make. I think you can dress a table like you dress yourself and make it fun and make it inspiring and make it exciting and make it something if you, I think of, okay, we're gonna do a dinner, it needs to be a dinner that you want to remember, and I'd rather do less but do good ones, and whenever we did dinner, so many of our customers and so many of our friends always ask us, oh, can we buy the plates? Can we buy this? Like, I love that you did this. Can we would custom make things also for the tables? And I'd always wanted to do a home line, and it was kind of this perfect time now, especially as we're spending more time at home. And and we've discovered the joy of actually having friends at home and entertaining at home, and making a beautiful table is such a pleasure. I think it's a personal pleasure to begin with, because even if you're just doing it for fun, it's such a fun thing. It's almost like dressing yourself up, but it's dressing a table and you're dressing your home. But also it's such a kindness. It's such a kindness that you show to your friends and to your family and the people who you love. I love. Don't get me wrong. I love eating out, and I think going to a restaurant is wonderful. But it's so much. There's something to be said about having people home. I think when you are home and you're entertaining home, people feel so much more
special.
You can have so much deeper conversations. You're so much more comfortable. You're in your safe place in a way, and people can get very comfortable, and it's so nice to have a beautiful table. And for me, it's been so much fun working on this, and going around Italy, going to Murano, going to see all the manufacturers, we're making some things in Portugal as well. Like, it's been so wonderful working on this.
My God, don't remind me about Portugal.
I'm really excited about launching our home collection.
That's wonderful.
So that's something that is a project that's very, very dear to my heart, and hopefully something that will do well and people will
That's wonderful. That I totally can relate, as you know, and you obviously know that I entertain a lot, and this is what I do for my friends, for the living, and for the clients. And lately I've been entertaining every week, at least once or twice a week. I have dinners at home, because exactly for the same notion as you expressed. It's just so intimate and so special, and so it's creates the bonding that doesn't really happen probably outside of the home. So creating the special experiences with a beautiful table setting is a must, absolutely. And what about men's line?
That's something
Any
that's in
thoughts
the
on
back
that?
of my mind, that it's something that actually I had already started working on, and I kind of paused it, and I want to start working on again, because I love shoes. I mean, I make, obviously I love shoes, I design them, but I make shoes for women. I would love to make shoes for myself first and foremost.
Yes.
But I also think that every Aquazura woman has an Aquazura man, and
That's
it's
a
so
very good
wonderful.
statement. I'm going to use that quote, seriously. I'll encourage you further.
And I find it quite difficult to find beautiful men's shoes that are really comfortable as well. And so it's something that's in the back of my mind that I need to get onto again now, because it's something that I would love to do, and it's something that's definitely in the works, that we've started developing, but we haven't. But we don't have a set date for it yet. But
got it. But
really
it's in your mind, and that's already great.
Absolutely.
And of course, your love of beauty of the seas, and it's clear from your line of work and from your creations. And I know how much you traveled before, because I always, whenever I'm on WhatsApp with you, I can't get hold of you, because one day you're there, but then another day you're completely on the opposite side of the world. So can you share with us what is your favorite destination, and where would you take a trip first? Not work related, but soul related, when you are able to travel.
That's very difficult. I mean, I can tell you, I mean, where would I take? It's almost two different questions, in the sense that for me, there's places that I love to go to, that I go to every year, and that in the summer I always try to go to Greece, and I always try to go to the Amalfi Coast. I love particularly Capri, but I love all the Amalfi Coast. This year, I mean, I've been going for quite a few years, but I went again this year, and I have to say that every time I go to Sicily, I get so inspired. I mean, it's such an incredible place, and there's so much going on right now. There's so much beauty, and the food, the culture, the people. I mean, the light. It's an incredible place to discover. Palermo, Catania, which I never expected it to be so beautiful. There's so much to see in Sicily. And I discovered Naples last year too, which I absolutely adored. Those are places that I think I want to continue to go to and explore even more.
So it's very much Italy.
Yeah, it's
Italy
very much
related.
but I mean, to be honest, places that I mean, there's so many places that I love to travel. It's one of my biggest passions, and I do so for work. I do so for pleasure. Unfortunately, it's not a time when traveling is easy or possible. So, but I would love to. I mean, I would love to go back to India, which is a country that I love. That's very close to my heart. I'd love to go back to Turkey. I'd love to go back to. I'd love to discover Bhutan, which I've never been to. There's so many. I mean, the list is so long. We could spend an hour talking about traveling.
But you know, it's all, and it will all happen. You know that it will all. And remember that we do have a date with you in beloved Portugal. You know, I'm so. You know, I'm missing Portugal big time. So please tell Ricardo that and one day we'll have dinner in Portugal for sure. And you know, so how do you, because you're obviously not able to travel like all of us, how do you spend your day off these days, if you do have a day off? But your work is probably, you know, just a day off as well for you. But what is your downtime?
When I have a day off, I love to do yoga. I love to actually walk around and hike. I love hiking, so I like to go on hikes. And I love reading, especially historical novels and biographies. Lately, I've had an obsession with Venice, so I've been reading a lot about Venice. I just finished a book about the Marchesa Casati, the life.
What is the book? Can you say it again? I want to know.
The biography of the Marchesa Casati.
Okay.
She was an Italian noblewoman.
Yes.
Variety. And I'm actually finishing another book called The Unfinished Palazzo, which was the book of where she lived, which was also the house of Doris Castlehorse, which is the great-grandmother of a friend of mine, Papi Dell'Avena. And then afterwards, Peggy Guggenheim bought the house, and which now is the Guggenheim Museum in Venice. So it's a story of these three very independent, very modern and women that over the course of a century lived in this incredible palazzo in Venice, and it's quite an interesting book that I've been.
I will ask you to WhatsApp me the name of the book later on.
Yeah, it's Unfinished Palazzo. It's called.
Unfinished Palazzo.
Yeah, and then now, I mean, honestly, when I have free time, I look at design. I like to. I look at. I'm browsing the internet for auctions, for things for furniture, for different kinds of things in design, and kind of getting inspired.
As you always have been, my dear, really. Well, you know, it's so great to see you. You look amazing, and you know, your passion explodes, as it always have been all these years that I've known you. And it's so wonderful to learn about your new projects, about your inspirations, about your creative mode, and you are as fruitful as ever. I'm thanking you so very much. I can't wait. And I have to get my hands on, of course, on the home line for sure. And but we'll talk about it, and I'm sure we'll have a chance to perhaps to share your projects, future projects with our followers, with your people who adore you another time again. And I'm really counting the days till we get together again.
Thank you, Olga, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon. Ci vediamo, regasto Riccardo. Ciao. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Bye.